The dinner knife clattered against the porcelain plate like a gunshot in the stuffy dining room of the old Victorian house in suburban Boston. Elijah's heart slammed against his ribs as his father's voice sliced through the air, thick with bourbon and bigotry. "You're filthy, boy. A goddamn disgrace to this family." 5 pairs of eyes, his mother's wide with shock, his siblings frozen in horrified silence, turned on him, the weight of their stares heavier than the silverware his trembling hand had dropped. Elijah bolted from the table before the words could burrow deeper, his chair scraping back with a screech that echoed his unraveling soul. He didn't grab his coat, didn't spare a glance for the turkey carcass cooling on the platter or the cranberry stains blooming like blood on the linen. The front door slammed behind him into the biting November chill, and he ran, past the manicured lawns of Beacon Hill, past the gas lamps flickering like judgmental eyes, until his lungs burned and the family home was just a smudge in the rear view of his blurred vision. That night, under the skeletal branches of the common, Elijah curled up on a bench, the cold seeping into his bones like his father's venom. He was 24, a barista by day and a dreamer by night, sketching half-formed poems in the margins of his worn notebook about boys who loved boys in worlds that didn't hate them back. But now, exposed. His secret spilled in a moment of reckless honesty over forced holiday cheer. He felt exposed, raw, like a nerve-stripped bear. The city lights twinkled mockingly overhead, promising anonymity in their sprawl, but Elijah knew better. Boston was small when you carried shame like a scarlet letter. By dawn, he'd made it to the Greyhound station, a crumpled 20 in his pocket from tips at the coffee shop. The bus to New York rumbled south, carrying him toward reinvention or ruin, he wasn't sure which. As the skyline of skyscrapers pierced the horizon hours later, Elijah pressed his forehead against the grimy window, whispering to his reflection, "You're not filthy. You're free." But freedom tasted like ash, and the ache in his chest whispered otherwise. New York swallowed him whole, a beast of concrete and chaos that didn't care about your backstory. He crashed on a friend's lumpy couch in Brooklyn, a distant cousin from his mother's side who worked nights as a bartender and asked no questions. Days blurred into shifts at a hole-in-the-wall diner in the village, slinging eggs and attitude to hungover artists and suited commuters. Elijah dyed his sandy hair jet black on a whim, pierced his eyebrow with a safety pin in the bathroom mirror, and told himself he was shedding the skin of that boy from Boston. It was on a drizzly Tuesday in December, 3 weeks after the blow-up, that he met Adam. The diner was half empty, the jukebox crooning Sinatra like a lovesick ghost. Adam slid into a booth by the window, rain dripping from his leather jacket, his dark curls plastered to a forehead creased with exhaustion. He was older, maybe 28, with hazel eyes that held stories Elijah instinctively wanted to read, and a jawline sharp enough to cut glass. "Coffee. Black," he muttered, not looking up from the notebook in his lap, where pencil sketches of angular faces and shadowed alleys danced across the page. Elijah poured the mug with steady hands, but when he set it down, their fingers brushed electric, accidental, inevitable. Adam's gaze snapped up, locking onto Elijah's like a puzzle piece slotting home. "Thanks," he said, voice low and gravelly, laced with a faint southern drawl that spoke of Texas roots transplanted north. "Rough night," Elijah shrugged, leaning against the booth's edge, the diner's fluorescent hum buzzing in his ears. "Rough life." "You?" Adam's laugh was bitter, like black coffee left too long on the burner. "Artist's curse. Deadlines that don't give a damn about your soul." He flipped the notebook shut, revealing a tattoo on his wrist. a compass rose etched in faded ink, pointing nowhere. They talked, halting at first, then spilling like the rain outside about failed galleries, absent lovers, the way cities chew you up and spit you out polished or broken. By closing time, Adam lingered, helping Elijah wipe down counters slick with grease. "Walk you home?" he offered, and Elijah, heart pounding like a bass drum in a jazz club, nodded. The streets of Greenwich Village wrapped around them like old friends, brownstones glowing under street lamps, the air thick with the scent of wet pavement and distant garlic from Italian joints. They paused at Washington Square Arch, the marble pillars looming like silent witnesses. "You're carrying something heavy?" Adam said softly, his hand ghosting Elijah's arm. "I can see it in your eyes." Elijah's throat tightened. The words tumbled out then, the dinner, the slur, the flight south like a wounded bird. Adam listened without interrupting, his face a mask of quiet fury. When Elijah finished, voice cracking on the edge of tears, Adam pulled him close, enveloping him in the warmth of his jacket, the steady thrum of his heartbeat. "Filthy? Bullshit. Your fire, Elijah. Pure, unfiltered fire." Their first kiss happened there, under the arch, tentative and tasting of rain and redemption. Adam's lips were soft, insistent, mapping Elijah's mouth like a cartographer charting unclaimed land. Elijah melted into it, fingers tangling in those dark curls, the world narrowing to the press of bodies and the distant honk of taxis. It was messy, imperfect, teeth clacking, noses bumping, but it was real, a spark igniting the dry tinder of Elijah's hope. In the weeks that followed, Adam became Elijah's anchor in the storm. They carved out a rhythm in the city's underbelly. Mornings tangled in Adam's tiny loft in Soho, sunlight slanting through cracked blinds onto sheets rumpled like abstract art. Afternoons wandering the Met, Adam sketching Elijah's profile amid Renaissance masterpieces, whispering how his features rivaled Botticelli's Angels. Evenings at underground poetry slams in the East Village, where Elijah read verses laced with Adam's name, disguised as metaphors for shooting stars. Adam was a freelance illustrator, scraping by on commissions for indie zines and album covers, his walls plastered with rejected sketches that screamed of untapped genius. He talked about his ex, a gallery curator who'd called him too volatile before ghosting him for a safer bet. A woman, no less, in a cruel twist of irony. "Love's a gamble," Adam would say, tracing Elijah's collarbone with calloused fingers. "But you're the jackpot I never saw coming." Elijah bloomed under that gaze, his sketches evolving from fragmented pleas to bold declarations of desire. He sent postcards to his mother and signed, cryptic, testing the waters of forgiveness, but silence echoed back like a slammed door. Christmas came and went in a haze of mulled wine and mistletoe stolen from corner delis, Adam gifting Elijah a leather-bound journal inscribed with, "For the boy who burned bright." But shadows lingered. Elijah's phone buzzed sporadically with blocked numbers he suspected were his father's, voicemails deleted before the venom could seep in. Nightmares woke him sweating, replaying the dinner table tableau, his siblings' averted eyes branding him outsider. Adam held him through those, murmuring southern lullabies until dawn painted the skyline gold. It was mid-February, Valentine's Day Eve, when the first crack appeared. Adam had a gallery showing uptown, a breakthrough, his first solo exhibit at a trendy spot in Chelsea. "This is it, Elle," he said, eyes alight with rare vulnerability. "If it flops, I'm done chasing this ghost." Elijah threw himself into helping, curating the playlist of indie folk tracks to loop during the opening, ironing Adam's one good shirt until creases surrendered. The night arrived crisp and starless, the gallery pulsing with Manhattan elite, curators in sleek black, collectors nursing champagne flutes, whispers of promising and raw floating like perfume. Elijah hovered on the periphery, nursing a plastic cup of warm white wine, pride swelling as strangers clustered around Adam's pieces. Charcoal visions of fractured lovers, oil washes of urban isolation that mirrored their own tangled hearts. Adam shone, schmoozing with effortless charm, his drawl wrapping compliments like silk. Then, across the room, Elijah saw her, tall, blonde, the ex, gliding in on heels that clicked like accusations. Claire, Adam had called her once, voice laced with old wounds. She air-kissed his cheek, her hand lingering on his arm, and Adam's laugh rang out, genuine, unguarded, the kind he saved for Elijah in quiet moments. Jealousy coiled in Elijah's gut, hot and irrational. He slipped outside for air, the alley reeking of dumpster overflow and cigarette butts. Minutes stretched. When he re-entered, Claire was gone, but Adam's eyes found his, shadowed. "You okay?" Adam asked later, as they cabbed back downtown, the city lights streaking past like accusations. "Fine," Elijah lied, the word bitter on his tongue. But doubt had planted its seed, and in the loft's dim glow, their lovemaking felt edged with urgency, bodies colliding like waves against jagged rock. The exhibit reviews trickled in positive the next week. Doors cracking open for Adam, commissions from big names, whispers of residencies abroad. Success tasted sweet, but it pulled Adam outward. Late nights at networking drinks, mornings after with coffee breath and vague apologies. "It's temporary, babe," he'd say, pecking Elijah's temple before vanishing into the subway scrum. Elijah buried himself in work, the diner a refuge of greasy familiarity, but loneliness gnawed. He unblocked his mother's number one rainy afternoon, dialing with fingers numb from cold. Her voice cracked on the second ring. "Elijah? Oh, God. Is that you?" They talked for hours, halting, tear-streaked, her apologies tumbling like loose change. "Your father. He's sorry. In his way. Pride's a poison. Son." Elijah hung up lighter, but the call stirred old ghosts. He wrote Adam a letter in the journal, words spilling of fears and futures, sealing it with a kiss before tucking it under the pillow. March brought thaw to the streets, slush puddling sidewalks like melting resolve. Adam landed a deal with a major publisher, illustrating a graphic novel on queer icons, a dream gig that demanded travel to LA for meetings. 2 weeks. Tops, he promised, packing his duffel with sketches and stolen hoodies of Elijah's. At the airport, their goodbye kiss lingered, Adam's whisper hot against his ear. "You're my north." Always. The days without him stretched elastic, Elijah filling them with open mics and midnight walks along the Hudson, the river's dark murmur echoing his unease. Texts from Adam came sporadic. Swamped, "Miss you," emojis masking the distance. Then, a photo. Adam at a rooftop bar in Silver Lake, arms slung around a lithe stranger with inked arms and a megawatt smile. Caption, "New collab brewing, Ella vibes." Elijah's stomach plummeted. Collab? The word blurred with betrayal. Memories of Claire's hand on Adam's arm flashing like lightning. He fired off a text, "Who's the guy?" regretting it instantly, but the read receipt glowed without reply. Hours later, Adam called, voice slurred from jet lag or something stronger. "It's nothing." Just networking. You gotta trust me. Trust. The word fractured in Elijah's chest. That night, he dreamed of the dinner table, but this time Adam sat beside his father, as cold, mouth forming the word filthy. When Adam returned, tan and triumphant, the loft felt smaller, air thick with unspoken barbs. They made love that first night, desperate and devouring, but Elijah's touches turned frantic, searching for lies in the arch of Adam's back. "What's wrong?" Adam gasped, pinning him gently, concern etching his brow. "Nothing," Elijah murmured, but tears betrayed him, salting their skin. Adam held him after, stroking hair damp with sweat, promising forever in the hush of 3 a.m. But the seed sprouted weeds, doubt tangling with desire. The breaking point came in late April, under a sky bruised with spring storms. Adam's graphic novel launch party loomed, a glittering affair at a Tribeca warehouse, A-listers and influencers milling like fireflies. Elijah dressed in his best, slim black jeans, a button-down pilfered from Adam's closet, heart hammering as they arrived arm in arm, a united front. Inside, the space thrummed, bass-heavy electronica, projections of Adam's art dancing on brick walls, champagne bubbling like false effervescence. Adam was swept into the vortex, handshakes, selfies, Claire materializing again like a bad sequel, her laugh tinkling over the din as she draped an arm around his waist for a photo op. Elijah watched from the bar, gin burning his throat, the room spinning into a carousel of inadequacy. He confronted Adam in a shadowed corner, voice low but laced with venom. "Networking again? Or is this your pattern? Charm bed leave the wreckage." Adam's face paled, hazel eyes flashing hurt then fury. "Jesus. Not here. Claire's ancient history. That guy in LA? Platonic collaborator. You're seeing ghosts." "Ghosts." Elijah's laugh cracked like thunder. "My father's voice in my head, calling me filthy, and now you, proving him right. I trusted you, Adam. With everything." The argument escalated, words whipping like rain-lashed branches. Adam's voice rose, drawing stares. "Trust goes both ways. You've been distant, paranoid, pushing me away before I can even fuck up." In a moment of raw desperation, Adam grabbed Elijah's wrist, pulling him toward the exit, but Elijah wrenched free, storming into the night. The downpour hit like judgment, soaking him to the bone as he stumbled toward the subway. His phone buzzed, Adam's texts pleading, then voicemails thick with regret. But Elijah silenced it, boarding a train north, back to Boston, the city of his exile calling like a siren's wail. He arrived at dawn, the family home looming gray against the harbor fog. His mother answered the door, eyes red-rimmed, pulling him into an embrace that smelled of lavender and loss. "He's changed," she whispered, leading him inside. The living room held ghosts, faded photos on the mantel, his father's armchair empty. Upstairs, in his old room, untouched, a shrine to the boy he'd buried, Elijah collapsed, sleep claiming him like an old debt. He woke to voices downstairs, low and urgent. Peering through the banister, he saw his father, stooped, grayer, clutching a letter with trembling hands. It was the one from Elijah's journal, somehow forwarded by a mutual friend in the city. "I called him filthy," the old man rasped, voice breaking. "My own blood. God forgive me, Ruth. I nearly lost him forever." Elijah's siblings filtered in, Tentative hugs and apologies exchanged like fragile currency. Dinner that night was quiet, no turkey, just takeout Chinese steaming on paper plates, but the air hummed with possibility. His father cleared his throat midway through. Fork paused over lo mein. "Son," he said, meeting Elijah's gaze for the first time without armor. "I was wrong." "Filthy? No. You're my pride. Always were." Tears pricked. But Elijah nodded, the word "Dad" slipping out like sunlight through clouds. They talked late into the night, halting confessions of his father's own buried pains. A youth shadowed by church fire and brimstone. Love denied in whispers. Forgiveness wasn't a thunderclap. It was this, a slow unfurling, roots seeking soil after drought. Back in New York a week later, his mother's urging, his own heart's pull, Elijah found Adam on the loft's fire escape, sketching the skyline with furious strokes. The air crackled, heavy with rain scent and regret. "I fucked up," Adam said without preamble, setting the pad aside. "Pushed too hard. Didn't listen enough. But I love you. Not the idea. Not the conquest. You." Elijah leaned against the railing. City sprawl a glittering apology below. "I ran," he admitted, voice steady. "Again. But I came back. For us." Adam stood, closing the distance, hands framing Elijah's face, thumbs brushing cheeks flushed with hope. Their kiss was a vow, deep and deliberate, the world holding its breath. In the months that followed, scars faded into stories. Adam's exhibit toured. Elijah's poetry chapbook found a small press. Their love a quiet revolution against the noise. 5 months to the day from that fateful dinner, Elijah's family arrived in the city. His father awkward in khakis, bearing a pie from the old recipe, eyes softening at the sight of Adam's hand in his son's. They shared brunch in a sunlit cafe, laughter tentative but true, bridges mending link by link. Under the table, Adam squeezed Elijah's knee, a silent anchor. In the arch of Washington Square, where it all began, Elijah traced the compass on Adam's wrist. "Points true now," he murmured. Adam grinned, that southern warmth breaking through. "Always did. Fire boy. Just took us a while to see the stars." And in the heart of the beast that was New York, 2 souls, once called filthy, once betrayed, found their way home, not to houses of brick and bone, but to the unyielding grace of love reclaimed.